The recent book that I wrote called The Art of Prioritization was written because I'm extremely passionate about this topic, and also because I have a lot of friends around me who have great potential, but they want to know more about my prioritization. So the question is always, Phil, how do you get all these things done? Do you have a group of minions working in the basement? How are you able to write 20 books in 1 year? How are you able to take so many project management and agile certifications in a short period of time and pass all the time without having to resit the exam? How are you able to be a music producer cranking out music productions day after day? There must be some magic to it. And the answer is there's no magic. It's a secret weapon known as prioritization. Prioritization is an art. We can also say it is a science, but I like to think about it as an art that you get better at the more you practice it. The art of prioritization comes with a ruthlessness, a savageness, a vengeance to cut out the muda. What is muda? Muda is waste. It's fat. It's ugly stuff that appears in your work stream daily. It appears in your life daily. And you, as a professional, need to get good with cutting out the muda, cutting out the fat, cutting out the waste. I see people wasting their time on the bus. Like, I take the double-decker buses quite a lot here in London, England, and I see people just doing nothing. I'm like, my goodness, that's time you're wasting. Why don't you prioritize doing some other things as opposed to just sitting down and mindlessly scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or just doing nothing? It's because they're not consciously prioritizing what they do, bumping up what they left on the back burner. That's what prioritization is all about. Prioritization is looking for what we call slack and float in your schedule and filling those things in with higher priority, big ticket items than, for example, just saying, I just want to sit on the bus and do nothing. Well, sitting on the bus and doing nothing is okay, but why don't you prioritize doing something over doing nothing? You get what I mean? So I look at this in stages, and that's just stage one. And stage two is the friend who calls you to go to the club or to go to the party. And honestly, there's nothing wrong in that. But when it becomes a habit such that you're always putting more valuable things on the back burner and you're going to the club or going to the party, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just talking about nothing. Good old times. Let's talk about the good old times. Well, the good old times, they probably are not that great if you look ahead, because you got to have a mindset of better things being ahead. And I appreciate the good old days, but you got to look ahead. So there are many little things that get in the way of you prioritizing. And I want to help you see what prioritization is all about. It's cutting out the fat ruthlessly. And you got to say, how much value does this add to me? And speaking of, this is a call I have to get. So this is a valuable one. So, my friends, as I was saying, that was a very important phone call. Now, that's what prioritization is about. There's some phone calls that you know the value you get from the individual is immense. You have to prioritize that over everything else, just as you saw me do. Now, there's some other phone calls that get put right down to the bottom of the stack. So you got to use the mindset of prioritization, put those things that give you the biggest value. John Maxwell calls it the biggest return and the biggest reward. You want to put those first. On the flip side, there are some idle chatter phone calls that are either people dumping on you or floating on you, griping, just moaning and groaning. And I mean, you don't get nothing from these people in return ever. Those are phone calls you may not want to take. Now, you got to use the mindset of must. What is a must? What is a should? What is a could? And what is a would like? We call it the Moscow technique. So in this first lesson, my takeaway for you is to brutally and honestly ask the question, is this phone call, is this conversation, is this piece of work, is it a must or is it a won't, right? Is it a must have, highest priority? Is it a should have, second level of priority, or you could call it categorization? And then you could have could have. So must, should, could, and would like, or won't have. There's some things you gotta just say no. Low value, low urgency, low importance, low everything. So this is just the first part in a series about prioritization. I haven't even gotten into the book yet. This is just letting you know why I wrote the book. Okay, so in the next session, we'll talk a little bit more. You take care, and I'll see you soon.